Alright, testing. Am I here? How we doing? Okay, let's see. How do I even get to this video? That's what I always find difficult. Alright. YouTube. Alright, how are we all doing tonight? It's one of those nights, you know? I'm releasing a video in a minute. I'm gonna release a video in like an hour's time. Hey Johan, having a good day, is he? Hello there, Daniel Stray. How we all doing? How we all doing today? It's a very momentum. Let's see. So, okay, I've got to just send this. Send this thingamajiggy out on the internet. Yeah, as usual, my mic and my streaming all stopped working, which was nice, as they always do. Stream, let's go. There we go. Alright, so I've shared. I did the sharing. I shared the thingy. Share for care. Alright. Alright. Do some stretching. Alright, sounds like we're having a good time in the comments there. Alright. Yeah, blue team. Alright, I don't need these anymore. Alright, so let's see what's going on. Hello, Playmation Nobi. I'm doing okay today. I haven't done much today, but I've been editing a video that isn't coming out today, but it's coming out maybe next week sometime. I'm going to say the next 9 days we may see a new video out after this one. We're actually speeding up production again. Video that's coming out in an hour's time, give or take. All right, I'm gonna go on this counter because I don't want to mess around too much. But yeah, probably like 8 hours. Yeah, and like, let's see, what time is it now? Yeah, like in an hour and a half. Yeah, hour and a half, give or take. I'll release a new video that's coming out today. You know, I don't actually know if these streams are better to do afterwards or before. I'm not really sure. I just thought before means I can get out of the way so I can get back to work, but I'm gonna chill for a moment. Just chill and thing. I see Daniel Strait. I'm doing just fine. I hope you're doing well. I see you're relieved about the election results, which I see most of the world, you know, who aren't America, seem to be pretty relieved about it, as you know, as it goes. But yeah, I'm doing just fine. I'm doing just fine today. It's been a pretty chill day for me, as most days are. I haven't been outside for a while though. No. What have you been reading, Nobi? Let's see. Right now I'm reading the book from what Murakami called Colorless Tsukuru Tadzikaki, or His Years of Pilgrimage. It's the first book I have read from him. Have you ever heard? No, I'm not going to make a video about Murakami. Isn't Murakami kind of like a weirdo? I mean, to be fair, I talk about a lot of weirdos, but I've never read any of his stuff. I know he's quite popular. Like, generally, well, he's popular with people who aren't from Japan. Yeah, I know that much. For a lot of reasons, but I've never read any of his stuff, I'm afraid. Maybe one day, I don't know. I've heard that he's perhaps a more controversial figure in some parts for certain things. I don't know. Maybe he isn't. I don't know enough about him to give a position on him, but I don't think I'd be the right person to make a video on him because, again, not really a fan, not really that interested. I had some friends that used to read his books, but I'm not really connected in any way to it. And making a video about books is quite difficult because you have to figure out like how would you approach the topic of that. Is it going to be mainly like a biography, like a biopic kind of thing? Are you going to present the text? I mean, I guess I could sit down and read it if I was going to be like cozy, but it is really about how. And I think doing books is actually quite hard on like It's hard to do that kind of here with this kind of system. But you know, who knows? Maybe one day I'll talk about a book author if I can think of a way of doing it. But a lot of it is presentation, figuring out how to do such a thing. Oh, okay. Yeah, the video is coming out in like an hour. That's going to be on Legend of Hay. Legend of Hay is a Chinese animated film made by an independent studio, but it has today in particular is its Japanese dub release. The film itself definitely relies on a lot of Japanese sort of influence, I would say. Not necessarily just Japanese influence, specifically around Ghibli. This is why I wanted to talk about it originally, because it certainly to me seemed like, and some people have mentioned this before, it feels like the passing of the torch of generations, where like a lot of Chinese kids who've been brought up on media, especially anime, Studio Ghibli films, video games, etc., are now making themselves their own animation studios, their own sort of video games, their own sort of stuff. And this one in particular, I think the studio and MTJJ who made it, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but that's how I say it in the video. That's his like initials. They've been making really unique stuff for quite some time. This film they've released, obviously they released it last year, but it hasn't gotten quite a worldwide situation yet. But I do believe it had a limited release in Japan already. But as of today, the Japanese dub is out, which I imagine means it's having another theatre release in Japan, or it's being released digitally in Japan, which means that it has a potential to do quite well again, considering how like not 2 weeks ago Japan like broke their box office records with the where was that? I can't remember what's the name. The one with vampires in it. So there is potential that it could do quite well there. It is actually a pretty fun film. I think the series is even better in some ways. And their new show is also really good. I think they've really made themselves a name for themselves in Chinese animation, and I appreciate what they're doing in the format, especially in the movie format too. I think they did a really great job with the movie. Very impressive for an independent studio and their first film. Hey Jolene, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, Demon Slayer, that's the one. That is the one. Yeah, the movie. Oh fuck! Keep kicking. I'm kicking all these wires. I've got too many wires about. I'm always covered in wires. I'm like Tetsuo Iron Man at all times. I'm exactly like that, just with a tablet on one hand and a mouse on the other. Alright, that's probably enough water for me. Yeah, I hear Murakami's a bit of a gloomy fella. Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that too, from by the sounds of it. I have not watched Doro. Is that how you say it? Doro. It's like the 3D one, is it? No, I haven't seen it. Yeah, Demon Slayer is the one I was mentioning. So Demon Slayer's film in Japan blew some box office records recently. Even during the pandemic, apparently the cinemas are still going in full force, which does give me some hope that Hay could get a bit more traction, because I think the creators themselves being independent and also being very passionate about this, going from like a small pet project into like a giant theatrical film, is the sort of thing that I want to see people support. I think the film does a really good job. It's actually quite impressive. It's very pretty film. I think they did a great job with the animation scenes, like the set pieces and all that. Though it does have a very specific style. MTJJ in particular has a very fast cut action sort of style that he likes to do. I guess it's almost like waifu, I suppose. Like it would be the equivalent of like waifu with a bit more of like a Sakuga edge, where the camera is always following the character move through a dynamic sort of action pose. It's always flowing, like something in the wind. Like I think I said in the video, it's like like maybe like a paper dragon in the wind. Like it just sort of flows with a lot of finesse, but it's quite hard to read sometimes on your first viewing. Translated books. I guess we're talking about Murakami there. Leaves out a lot of stuff from the original. I I doubt any new translation would leave anything out. To be very blunt, I would doubt any like modern translation would leave stuff out. They may cut things to like try and localize them in different ways, but I couldn't see them actually deleting parts of his book for localization. We don't really live in that kind of market anymore. I hope the chat's still having a nice day today. We're releasing a video in like an hour. Should I watch the movie before watching your video? Ooh, that would be on you completely. I do kind of go through. I mean, I don't really say what the plot is necessarily, but I do go through like lots of in-depth parts about the plot. Like I sort of walk through some of it in terms of like character dynamics and stuff like that. This is kind of a. This isn't a serious video, guys. This is kind of more just like a nice little short, kind of like an easy, quick fix sort of thing. I made. I don't think it's anything crazy by chance. I've been working on a bigger video for quite some time, but hopefully it will come out next week. But this one's more of like a short where I'm just hanging out and talking about some Chinese animation. You can watch it if you want, but I am releasing the video in like an hour, so you don't have time to watch it right now. But I guess if you're going to come back later, to be honest, I would rather you just watch my video now, because I don't think I say anything in that video that would make it like... I don't think I do anything major to... I don't think there's much to even spoil in the film, so I think you'll be fine watching my video first. It may even give you a bit more context into the creation and what's going on behind the scenes about the people who made it. So I'd say watch my video first, because I'm here. Oh, I'm glad people are having a good time. Right. I don't even know what to say right now. This is my curse, I suppose. Right. Yeah, but that video is going to be cool. Chinese animation, I was actually originally going to make a video about some Chinese animated stuff a while back, but it isn't like as modern. I was going to talk about some of the earlier stuff from the 70s, but I saw particularly one channel, I think it's called Ascended Cinema. They did a video on like Chinese animation history, and I think the points they made and sort of like going through that timeline, talking about the important ones and where they sort of fit in it, was generally what I would have liked to do, and I think they did a lot better job than I could have possibly done, considering. So I kind of put that one to rest. Never say never though. There might be some Chinese films I could talk about in the future. I mean, I recently, specifically like the Mobius video, the Thief video, and what was the other one? The one with the Mockingbird. Like I've done a couple videos on the channel before about international animation. And I kind of pick them up with ones where I'm like specifically thinking, oh, will anyone else talk about these films like the way I would like them to be talked about? So I'm always thinking about that. But generally I try and keep to a uniformed lane to some degree, because that's what YouTube likes. But sometimes I like to break the mold if I'm doing well, and I can get away with it. To be fair, all my films on like international animation have done quite well, so it's not like it's hurting me. Okay. Oh. I just watched Pompoko the other night. Yeah, I really love Pompoko. Pompoko is like a fucking jam of a film, straight up. Yeah, I was legitimately considering doing a video on Pompoko before the whole Ghibli like nightmare copyright fuel happened again, and they almost took my channel down. So at this point, I don't think it's really a viable thing to be doing. It would just be more stress until I've cleared my record. Probably not going to be making a video about Pompoko, but I think there is definitely some interesting themes in Pompoko, including I believe Oshii, yeah, Mamoru Oshii once said that he thought the whole film was about Marxism, which I thought was an interesting reading. I don't know how much validity there is to that statement. I don't know if Takahaka was quite going for that angle, but maybe there's more to look into it than that. I mean, I always took that there's definitely a lot of elements of like political discourse, leadership, terrorism, eco-terrorism, like perhaps even things about like native populations getting moved out of their lands by other populations. I think there's a lot of like things you could look into Pompoko, even though it's kind of like a silly film about raccoons. I do think there's a lot of layers to it which could be like peeled back in unique ways, because it is definitely it's probably one of Takahata's funnier films, and I like that about it. Let's have a look. Oh, what similar animes to Angel's Egg? If you Angel's Eggs is a pretty unique film, I'm afraid. There's probably films that are kind of similar. I mean, no, Amano. Alright, so Amano was the character designer on Angel's Egg. In 1999, he did a film called 1001 Arabian Nights, which is kind of like a 22-minute short animated musical film piece that he did. I think he drew every frame of it. It's a very impressive, like, mystically weird sort of film that kind of has a tone that I would say is similar, but obviously it's still a very different film. Obviously, you could look at Oshii's other films, because, you know, Angel's Egg is one in a million of his different sort of assortment of collections of pieces, although I think it's probably the one that's the most that tone, that sort of really cryptic, dark, lonely, mysterious, almost like fanatical. I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of his films could fall into that category, but there is a very particular vibe with that one in particular. I don't know, maybe the chat knows a couple films that are similar to Angel's Egg. I think Angel's Egg's pretty unique, my guys. I don't know if we're going to find too many that are exactly like it. But there are definitely other avant-garde type animations that are about. Even in, like, things that are not Japanese animation, you could probably find something that does a similar vibe. When I think of communism, giant raccoons with balls come to mind. Well, there you go. That's what Oshii was thinking. I do believe he's probably talking about. He may be talking about it in, like, association with Japan. He may be talking about it in terms of, like, perhaps the raccoons could be some sort of symbol of, like, the student rebellions from the 70s. And maybe he thinks of it like that way, where, like, you know, they're trying very hard to resist against the government's situation and, like, what they're doing to effectively, you know, attack other nations and supporting the US. And they're like, you know, ultimately it's a failure, and they weren't able to, like, sustain themselves, and there was a lot of internal battles within the parties and all that. I think that might be what he's referencing more so. Maybe, it's hard to say. I'm just jumping. I'm shooting from the hip here. I have no clue. That's what they needed to feed the masses. What did they need to feed the masses? I'm not really sure what you mean in what context. But yeah, Pompoko, great film. Great film. Honestly, there was a period where people were like, this is the WTF Ghibli film. It's so weird. I don't get it. This one isn't very good. It's like, no, wrong. Incorrect. Pompoko is, 9 out of 10. Straight up masterclass. Maybe one of Takahata's best, maybe? I mean, I think my opinion on what is Takahata's best film changes a lot. I've become very, like, enamored with the film My Name is Yamada's. Even though I haven't watched it in a while, I just think about it quite a lot. I just really liked the experience of watching it. Also, the cat one? What's the cat one? Is it Gorsh the celloist? That one's really cool. Yeah, and also Pompoko. I think those ones are trending to one of my favourite right now, but I don't know. I want to spend some time with his TV shows too, when I get the chance. Okay, I think my chat's being slow. I can't really tell though, so I might need to open. A chat on a different thing because technology doesn't want to work today. But yeah, we got a new video coming out today on Legend of Hay. Legend of Hay is a very pretty, cool film for cool people. It's basically a family film, but there's a lot of action, a lot of set pieces in it. You know, it's got the good stuff in it. It's got the good stuff. Where we at? Okay. I'll leave that there for a second. What's happening? Yeah. Yeah, Legend of Hay, unique. I don't know, would I consider it unique? It's probably, in terms of, like, the modern Chinese landscape of animation, I think it's definitely very successful for being an independent film, and probably one that's more palatable to, like, general anime fans, I would say. Just because it definitely lives in that language. Even if I wouldn't say it's 100% like connected, I actually think it has some similar lineage to, like, the Marvel or comic book films that have been coming out recently, which are also incredibly popular in China. Yeah, you know, Annie Fred, I'm always yeah, I'm always wearing the tank tops right now. I don't know why. I'm just I'm a tank top lad, even though it's like the middle of winter. What generally happens is I plan to wear my jacket, and then like when I'm setting up all this stuff and I'm running about and messing about trying to set up like a little everything going up on the live stream, I get really too hot. I get really too it's too warm, and this room right now because the heating on, it's a really steamy in here. It's like really quite warm, even though it's really cold outside. So I take my jacket off at that point, and then I'm back in the tank top again. So yeah, it's not going anywhere. Tank top streams. This is my brand now. I'm nothing but tank tops. I have nothing but tank tops to wear all day, every day. So yeah, tank top Steven. That's what the channel's going to be called now. That's my new name. And yeah, I have seen the original web series as well. I watched the whole thing after I watched the film. Was it before? No, it was after. Yeah, was it? I'm trying to remember here. Which way I watched it. I think I watched the film, then I watched the web series, then I watched the film again. I would like to watch the web series again, to be honest. I actually thought the web series was better than the film in a lot of ways. Obviously, it can't necessarily compete with like some of its spectacle, but and obviously the technical performance, like the amount of frames and all that other silly stuff. Like the film is very lavished. But I think the web series had more time to sort of open up on like its ideas and its writing and its characters in a very like relaxed manner, and also explore the world in a wider fashion, which obviously a series can do that where a movie can't. I think both, you can watch them either way around. I don't think it really matters. I do think you might get more context from watching the movie first, maybe. But yeah, I think the series is just as good. I think everyone should watch both. But like, I think the movie is easier to sell people on because it's like fast and immediate, where like the series takes a couple of episodes to kind of like get going, and you've like to be like, oh yeah, I see what it's trying to do right now. His new series though, because the guys that made that series made it a new series not so long ago, like this year, about a vampire, a werewolf, and a demon living together in the big city. And actually, it was really fucking good. Really good. Excellent series. They've only released season 1 of it, but yeah, really amazing. Even for like a random short show, I just had so much fun watching it. What were we saying here? Oh, Hazel not up. Oh, the Hazel? The Hazel. Oh. The Hazel of the A&V fame? Oh, nice. What's your opinion on Blame? I have never read Blame, so I can't help you there. Based web series, I'm super excited for the video. Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm glad you're excited. Well, I don't want to hype people. Well, actually, no, I should probably hype. This is the part where I'm supposed to hype people up about how cool this video is. Yeah, in the video I do talk about the web series, and I do talk about the movie, both of them, and I do talk a bit about the series as well. I thought the web series was great. Generally, like a really great web series. I think the movie, more people should watch it because I want the company to do well, and I think the movie was a really fun experience to watch. Has some really great moments in it. A lot of wholesome characters, even if they're like short lived. There was lots of like extra cast people hanging about. I thought they were all like fun to watch. I enjoyed the experience of just. I actually think I enjoyed that more than like some of the action, was just like hanging out with those characters. And they've been talking about making a second movie, and I'm down for it because I think they will have learned from what they've done in the first film and the web series, and I think they can really build on top and really something that's like. The thing with Hey is like the world seems so wide in Hey, you could pretty much do anything you want with it. You could be relaxing, you could be action, you could do. It's just such a fun world, and also that they brought what's his name, Nisa. I think it's Nisa. Like they brought Nisa, who's like a popular mythological character, into the movie just for the sake of it, and he also had his own film that same year. And Nisa was also in a 1970s animated Chinese film, which is really quite popular. I think it's called like The Dragon King. I think that might be the subheading. Yeah. Yeah, it was just cool to see him just hanging out. It was kind of like, I can't even say it. It's like the equivalent. It's like the equivalent of the Chinese version of the Avengers in the most cringy way of saying it. I'm sorry, But like it's like the mythological version of that, where like random characters like the Monkey King or Nizar or like all these other like maybe even the Dragon King perhaps, like these random characters from lore. I don't know, Buddha could appear and they'll just randomly appear in Hey at times, and it's just like, oh shit, it's them. I mean, I used to read a bit. Like I read some Chinese literature back in the past. For one of my university projects, I did it on Journey to the West. So I read myself some Journey to the West, and I really enjoyed my time reading it. I think the first half of the story is much more interesting, where like the Monkey King's going ham, trying to like stop and just be an absolute menace to everyone. The second half is a little bit more repetitive, where it's just like him hanging out with his little crown on and trying to repent for whatever he was doing. Where did I get the idea for pre-video streams? I have absolutely no clue. I don't even know if it's a good idea or not. I just I don't know. I think the idea at first was maybe like post video streams. I think maybe post, because I think that's what people tend to do, is post video streams. But like, uh, I guess maybe at some time in the past I got to that position where I probably had something to do after a video and was like, all right, I'll just stream beforehand instead of after, because I got to edit something or I've got to go to bed or whatever, something silly like that. And then in the end, I've just sat on like, I'm just gonna stream for a bit beforehand to get the hype going for the new video that's coming out. Is it a good idea? I don't know, but like it's my thing now, I guess. Oh yeah, yeah, Nisa. I think you say Nisa. I'm probably saying it wrong, but I say everything wrong. It's fine. Yeah, Nisa had a film coming out last year in 2019. Um, what? Ooh, what would you say? Ooh. Yeah, it was a 2019 film. I think it was the biggest Chinese animated film of all time. I don't know if anyone knows this, but there's like a funny story that I remember hearing about Kung Fu Panda and Chinese animation. It might have been Kung Fu Panda 3. One of the Kung Fu Pandas, because to be fair, all three Kung Fu Panda films are fairly popular in China for obvious reasons. But one of them came out, and I believe it was the third one, and it created like this divide within the market where the film was like pretty well loved, and people were talking about almost shaming China's animation market for not being able to do what the Americans could do, in terms of like they made this, I guess what they thought, they approved Chinese animated movie, and a 3D one at that, with like a pretty sizable budget. But the idea, I guess, was like, why can't China be making films like Kung Fu Panda 3? Why aren't they doing this? And I think they had that existential crisis, and since then there seems to have been a resurgence of Chinese animation that have really been trying to push the envelope. And I think Nizar was one of the big ones of that. There was also a Monkey King film that was made a couple of years back as well. Nizar though was actually very popular. Not only was it very it did quite well at the box office, I believe it was quite well liked, like critically. I think they tried to release it in America shortly after, but I don't know if it got to be released because of COVID. But there was definitely plans to release it. They may have had a limited release. I can't remember. But there's a dub. I know there's literally a dub for Nizar, the Chinese one that came out last year. Let's see. A bunch of numbers is telling me Legend of Hay was really amazing. I think it was my favorite animated movie of 2019. Oh, I'm glad to hear that. I thought it was pretty good. I was more in love with the series, I think, but I would really appreciate what they did. I'm impressed by the potential more than anything else. I liked it even better than all the anime films out yet. I mean, I think it has the potential to have that crossover appeal, and that's why I'm hoping with the Japanese dub out that perhaps it will gain a bit of traction, because I think it's worthwhile for an independent studio to get some love and affection, regardless of where it comes from. Also, have I done anything else to the Crony drawing since last stream? I have not. I haven't been drawing, obviously, because I've still been waiting for my hand to, like... Yeah. Those who don't know in the chat, I've been dealing with carpal tunnel for the last couple of months. I think my wrist has been healing slowly. Especially, like, the last couple of days, I've been doing more editing, like, with the mouse. So, I've been doing, like, a lot of editing and chopping and cutting and whatever else. Recording and all that other stuff. So I've been using the hand, but not for any drawing. I've done a little bit of typography. I drew some typography out for the new video. I do plan to do more drawing for my newest video that's coming out maybe in a week or two. But like there's a lot to do, so I haven't been doing any like recreational drawing because I've been still like trying to like limit how much I can use my hand for different things, just to, you know, it's still on the path, you know. So I haven't done any more of the Crone drawing, but I do need to shoot some references. I think that's the final step in it, is I wanted to do like some reference shots for it, because I want to get a very particular sort of angle going. Maybe do some redrawing of little bits and pieces of it, maybe some snapping, breaking, liquefying, just to really push the drawing at the end. I think it's pretty close to being done though, and then I have more plans for different drawings I could be doing, which will be fun, but you know, I may do them a little bit differently. I probably will focus more on a rough stage, because that one was just kind of me doing a stream of consciousness drawing, which obviously means during the end, when I'm like, actually I want to change some things, you know, it's a little bit more awkward. So the next ones I'll probably be as rough as possible at the beginning and try and really get the pose down. I am not reading any manga at the moment. No, I'm afraid I'm quite boring that way. What have I been reading of late? I don't think I've been reading any manga. I did, well, actually I did read some of history, what's it called, like History of Japan. There's a manga called like History of Japan that goes through different eras of Japanese culture. I was reading a bit, I have in a backlog of them. I was reading a bit on the student era, like the 1970s. The protest era in Japan. I was reading a bit of that recently. That's what I've read. I read a book about production, music production, the other week, because it was for another video I was planning to make but had to get postponed. So I read a lot about the history of like producing music and the sound and the sort of mediums that we've used to create that music, and how that has affected the sound and style of music through different decades. That was pretty fascinating. And before then I was reading The Inkle by Mobius. Not a manga though. Not quite. And then before that I was reading Beastars for a bit. I think I still actually have to finish reading off a couple of my issues. There might be some more out now. Maybe I'll buy some more. Yeah, the thing about Mobius... the thing about reading Mobius is Mobius books tend to be quite expensive. But they are definitely, they are good for their price. Usually the ones I find tend to be hardback, and they're pretty. It's nice. 10 years ago you couldn't even get Mobius in English around my part, so it's actually quite nice that you can generally find enough Mobius around. There's a fair bit of Mobius to go around these days. I was actually considering buying one of the Silver Surfer ones. He did Parable with Stan Lee, which is a Silver Surfer story. That came out in the 80s. I was considering buying it for my nephew, but my nephew is not a fan of the character Galactus. Don't ask, I guess. I don't know. He thought that Galactus is scary, so I thought it's probably not best that I buy him a comic book about, you know, Galactus coming to destroy Earth. He's a bit of a sensitive kid, so no Parable for him. But maybe one day, maybe I'll buy it when he's a little bit older. He's big into the Marvel characters right now. Maybe I'll anime pill him one day. Maybe I'll anime. I don't know how to though. I'm curious what series would get him going, but I don't know. It's a different landscape nowadays. It had to be something I'd actually want to watch. We'll see. Right. Wait, Jolene, which part do you need me to repeat? What was I talking about? I'm lost traction. Oh, you're in France and I'm a comic. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, go read some Mobius. Hello, Cherry Runner. How you doing? You pumped for the final Evangelion? I have not watched. I think I watched the first two films a while back, but I'm not really particularly that interested. I'll have to watch it for like the actual eventual Hideaki Anno video I plan to do. So I'll wait until then to watch it all. I'll watch it all together. Yeah, I have Ursak. I have how do you say Arsak? I have Arsak in the other room, but it's in German, I think. I think it's in German. It's not in English, I can tell you that much. I have the comic. The art is great. The script is shit because Stan the Man is not that great of a writer. Oh, that's very contentious because Parable is considered one of his great works in the pantheon. I appreciate what Stan Lee did because it's not a case that like Stan's a very particular type of writer, but he doesn't just write these things. It tends to be a collab. So like it was him and the artist coming together. Like they had something called the Marvel Way, where like Stan would write out a loose guide, and then a lot of the artists would have creative freedom to create the story as they see fit from the guide, and then he'd bring it back to then add in the dialogue. So there was like a real mix between the writer and the artist creating these works. Now with Parable, I'm pretty sure Stan the man wrote the whole script and he gave it to Mobius the next day after they talked about it. But generally, most people consider Parable to be one of his greater works. I've read a little bit of it. I think it's fine. Though I mean, I've read a fair bit of Stan's work, so I know what to expect. I mean, he wrote the comic books in the '60s, guys. What do we want? I think his work in Spider-Man was pretty good, especially like during some of the earlier era, like his Doc Ock story, his three-parter about Doc Ock. Very very cool story where like they do the iconic moment where Spider-Man is under the rubble and he has to break out. There's a story when Spider-Man quits. I think that's issue 50. As well as like some of the Green Goblin stuff, like with the demasking. I think it's all pretty iconic and has stayed the test of time. Although that's with a caveat that in a lot of Stan's early work, you shouldn't read any of the weird. They're like weird exposition bubbles on all of his earlier comic books that just describe what's happening in the panel. They're not worth reading. They really mess with the pace, to be honest. Show him some modern anime. That may work. All right, but my nephew is 6 years old. 5 6. My nephew is about 6 years old. So like I am conscious about what I should show him, because he's also quite sensitive. Like as much as I'd like to get him into Dragon Ball or like One Piece, like because I started reading I started watching Dragon Ball about when I was about his age. I don't know if he'd be able to. I don't know if it would be a wise move yet. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I'd rather he begin with the original series, and the original series is quite rude. In a way where like I hope like he's quite a sponge, so I'd be afraid of him trying to adopt some of those habits. But I don't know. He's quite influenced by the media that he does consume, and he's very one note, like he's very centered minded, like he likes one thing at a time. So like what I'd want to introduce him to is probably something a bit more no, laid back, maybe a bit more wholesome, rather than like a battle manga or something like that. I mean, Ghibli might be a good move if I can get him to watch one of the films with me. I'd actually quite like to watch Ponyo with him. I'll see. I'll figure it out later. He'd probably love Pokemon too, but I don't know if my sister would enjoy me getting him into Pokemon because it's expensive. Where are we at? Give him manga every time he sees them. That might I don't know if he'd read any manga right now. He's a bit young. His reading comprehension isn't quite there. He probably could start. I'd have to find something interesting for him to read though. I'll think about it. I feel like we need a Judge Dredd animated movie by Madhouse. Madhouse is dead, baby. Sorry to bring it to you there. Sorry to say it, but Madhouse that we once knew is not exactly around anymore. I don't believe that Madhouse is going to be animating any films of Judge Dredd anytime sooner. The studio's a bit in tatters, to be honest, by the sounds of it. Maybe there's some mild recovery happening, but like after the 2019 shock with the overworking and the hospitalization, as well as losing many of their key members like Moriyama, Karajiri I think still there, Rintaro retired, Dazaki died. So like there's what once was Madhouse is not quite Madhouse anymore. I don't necessarily believe that Madhouse is going to recover either. They had a fantastic film a couple of years back with the help of one particular member, which I will be talking about at some point soon. But I think even after that, it looks like the members who made that film have left the studio or aren't working with Madhouse much more. So and I think it was also a bit of an anomaly. I don't trust Madhouse to keep making stuff, especially not like Judge Dredd. If anyone's gonna make a Judge Dredd film, it probably should be like Bones or Trigger, maybe. Maybe no, actually no. If anyone was going to make it, it would definitely be Production IG. Production IG would make a Judge Dredd film. Absolutely, that would be their MO. Definitely, the cyberpunk future with cops. That's definitely their thing. Koji, eh? What's that? Is it for kids? It better be for kids. It's got to be wholesome. I mean, I didn't even watch Cory in the House growing up, so I don't think he'd watch it. Right. I'd rather get a new Carl Urban film. Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to see another Carl Urban Dredd, but it's just not going to happen, guys. It just didn't. It didn't perform. Just isn't happening. There's no future there. They're already planning on rebooting it into like a TV show or something. That was the last thing I heard. News just in: Madhouse stopped making stuff and are now just in the business of metaphysical abstraction. Yeah, that sounds about legit. Oh yeah, I mean, 90s was a pretty good time for Production IG. They did pretty good work back then. I think they still function just fine by the seams of it. It's just a different landscape now, and what they're making is slightly different. I'm gonna do some stretching with these hands. I'm just trying to keep my all my tendons from stiffening up. So I've been doing all my stretches on day to days just to make sure that my hand doesn't go back to the old path. Yeah, that was a good time for IG, certainly. I mean, I mainly remember it for like Ghost in the Shell and what's the other one? The Wolf Brigade. I can't really remember what else they did in the 90s besides those two things. Okay, so Koji is for kids. Let's have a look. Oh, okay. Isn't it English though? Because obviously, he's 5. He can't read subtitles, and he's not going to. So is there an English version of this? Because if there's not, it's probably not happening. Actually, to be fair, I mean, my nephew watches a lot of the Marvel shows, which are all action based. So maybe I should try and get him on something actiony. I just would like to pick something where I don't have to hide him from all the nudity and weird pervy shit that's in Dragon Ball. Not necessarily because I think it's bad, but just because I think he's too much of a sponge at this current age that I don't want to encourage bad behavior in him. I saw him go through his Grinch phase, which is hilarious. It was absolutely hilarious, like a 5-year-old. But when he gets into something, it's kind of difficult to deal with. Like when he went through a Grinch phase, it was actually kind of a nightmare to deal with, like little kid, because he just wanted to fucking he wanted to mess shit about because he was the Grinch, so he was very much into being Grinch-like for he had a 3-month period where he was very much into the Grinch. I don't know why. I don't know why. I guess it's a Christmas season or whatever. But yeah, it was hard to deal with a little bit. All the manga I have is not appropriate for 6-year-olds. Sorry. So yeah, that's probably not going to happen. I mean, he's 6. I think he's 6. He had a birthday in... I think his birthday's in February, so he's probably 6 now. Yeah, I mean, as much as I'd like to teach, I'd like to teach my nephew how to speak Japanese. I can barely do it. I'm not very good at it, so I don't think I could teach him. He's probably not gonna watch, a bunch of raw Japanese sub stuff until he absorbs it by osmosis. He'd probably rather it was in English, or he'll lose interest. I mean, yeah, Pat Labor was pretty cool. I mean, I prefer the series Pat Labor to over the movies. I think movie 1 was fine though. I actually quite like movie 1. I just I appreciate the craft of the second film, but I'm much more into the series tone than I am into the movie tone of Pat Labor. or Pat Labor, however you say it. Uh, my nephew adored the Jim Carrey version. I think he's probably seen the Jock Jones version too, but he was really into the Jim Carrey version, like insanely so. I assumed he'd think it was creepy, but no, he was all about it. He was all about that Jim Carrey life. I mean, I have no idea what Dungeon Meshi is, but it's probably cool. Yeah, I'm afraid most of my manga is probably not friendly enough for children. I don't have any of the early One Piece stuff, but like, I could see him getting into One Piece maybe one day. That could be fun. But again, it's really like it's quite an emotional roller coaster of a series for a shonen. Like I think it would hurt. He's just so sensitive. Like nothing against it or anything, but like yeah, sometimes he does take things like quite harsh that aren't like extreme. So I got to be careful about what I get him into, or I'll get in trouble. Let's have a look. Ooh, let's see. Dungeon Meshi. What is Dungeon Meshi then? This looks cute, I guess. Uh, looks nice. Is this just like another isekai show or something? I don't know. I don't know, guys. My Hero Academia will probably would be kid friendly, but I don't want to watch My Hero Academia with my nephew. I don't. I'm not interested. I don't want to do that. I'd rather be watching Yu Yu Hakusho if we're gonna go that path. If we're gonna show him a shonen, I want to show him. Could I get? He probably is still a bit teenagery. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. There's a new Dragon Quest show out. If they dub that, maybe I can make him watch that. I think it would be good to get him into Dragon Quest. I think that would be fun. Dragon Quest is a lot more wholesome than like. Yeah, I could see Dragon Quest being a good show to get him into. I'll see. If they dub it, I'll try and get him to watch it. No, I don't. I don't want my nephew to learn bad behaviors, like Goku. And I don't even know that it's necessarily a situation where he would learn it, but I don't want to have to be watching it with him every like and giving him like a okay Thomas, this thing that Goku did is really bad. Don't do that. And okay Thomas, don't show your naked genitalia to people. That's really bad. That's inappropriate. Don't do what Goku does. I know it's funny, but don't do what Goku does. Okay, don't slap women in that area, my nephew. Don't be doing that. That's really inappropriate. It's just a cartoon. Don't do what the cartoon does, which I think he understands on some level, but like there are certain elements when it comes to the social interactivity that I I just don't want to have those conversations with him. He's too young. I don't want to get into it. It's tiring. Doraemon probably would be fun for kids, but like, is it dubbed? Have they dubbed any Doraemon? Yeah, Shin-chan is probably also inappropriate, so. Hey, yeah, Dragon Quest. Yeah, I'd love to get my nephew into Dragon Quest. That would be fucking pog. I'd play Dragon Quest with my nephew. That'd be fucking cool as shit. But yeah, I mean, there's a new animated show coming out, and it's pretty well animated. I watched the first episode. It seems good. If they dub it, I see no reason not to get him to watch it. Why not? Hopefully it's on one of those streaming services where I could actually just easily watch it with him. I think he could get into it. Why not? It's got cool monsters and stuff in it, and, you know, kids to go on adventures. Like, I could see him getting into it. Yeah, I mean, I don't discount Doraemon. I just don't know how much of it's actually in English. I don't think he's to be blunt, I don't actually think he's seen any anime before ever. I just don't know where he would have watched any. I don't think he's seen any. No, he's seen Godzilla. He's actually watched a couple Godzilla films. Ironically, I accidentally showed him one where Godzilla died at the end, and he got really upset. It was quite dramatic. I didn't think he'd ever get to the end of the film because usually his attention span is like noodles at the time. So I was letting him watch the film Godzilla versus Destroyer, but at the end Godzilla fucking explodes and like dies and shit, and it gets really sad, and he just had a meltdown. And then he was like, "I'm not interested in Godzilla anymore." So I kind of ruined his Godzilla time by doing that. He's not interested anymore. I think I may have left a little emotional scar in that moment, maybe. A really tiny one, I don't know. But yeah, he sort of lost interest after that moment. So Yeah, I have to be careful. This is why I think about being a bit more selective about what I show him and how it may affect him. Ni no Kuni is like the Ghibli-esque one, right? Yeah. Uh, I'm not going to show my nephew Lupin. No, God, no. Unless we're talking about like Miyazaki Lupin, but like normal Lupin, fuck no. All right, Doraemon has a dub. Okay, that's cool. Maybe one day we'll watch some Doraemon together. Yeah, I want to show him something that's like clean to begin with, just because like when he's 8 or 9, I don't really have to give a fuck because I think he'll be like cogent enough to understand the difference between these things. But he is quite young and impressionable right now, so as it is my responsibility as the adult that I should not be too extreme at this age, and try and ease him into these things. Pokemon would probably be alright, but like my sister doesn't want him watching that because it's again, cards, games, all quite expensive. He doesn't have a Nintendo console, so yeah. And he also like he's very one mind tracked. Like if he's into something, he's into it 99% of the time. It's all he talks about. It's all he thinks about. So I do have to be. If I pick something for my nephew to be into, I want it to be something that like I could get down with talking to him about, and not get like, oh God, why are we having this conversation? I don't want to. I don't want to talk about whatever for 2 hours straight. I mean, yeah, Godzilla can be, but I showed him like the edgy Godzilla, so it's probably my fault. I should have shown him like the one where they all fight in the from the '60s, and it's all rubber suits and them punching people on the floor and such. All out monster attack or something. But I didn't. The first time I saw was when I was 7, and that was Kamino Ken. Is that the one I've seen? Yeah, that Dagger of Kamui, right? Kamui, yeah, the one I did a video on. Yeah, it was a cool film. Don't know if I'd watch it when I was 7, but it'd be cool. Came with the White Line. Came with the White Line is absolutely batshit. That would be hilarious to watch with him. Oh my god. I don't know if he'd watch it though. I'd have to find it too. I wouldn't mind watching old Astro Boy with him. Maybe if I could find like the 80s Astro Boy. The 80s Astro Boy with an English dub. If I could do that, I reckon that would be a cool thing to watch. I just have to... The issue with him is he doesn't like to... I'd have to get him in the mood to try something new. This is the problem. Like I said, he's so one-track mind about what he wants to do. I'd have to get him in the place where I'm like, do you want to try this? And he has to be able to say yes, which is really difficult, which means I probably have to like... It's like fishing. I'm going to have to be like... I'm going to have to already be watching it, and then he's going to have to be like, what's this? And then I can get him into it. It's like a really slow emergence. Because if I say, you want to do this, he's probably going to be like, meh, I'd rather do this. So it's going to be a game. Oh yeah, take the thumbnail if you want. It's the black and white version of the new thumbnail for the video, which is going to be obviously in colour. Imagination. Ooh, Imagination. I'll have a look at that. Okay. I think that one's... That's a different kind of show, yeah. Where were we? Digimon Adventure. If they bring out a dub, I mean, I wouldn't be... Oh. Again, this is the thing, like, I'd be down to kind of to watch Digimon Tamers with him, but again, Digimon Tamers gets really, like, bleak and dark and existential at times. It's like, he needs to be a couple years older before I would make him watch Digimon Tamers. But the new series of Digimon might be cool, but again, I have to wait for it to be dubbed, and hopefully have access to it. Yeah, the thing about Card Captors, actually I was watching some Card Captors really. Oh, but the English dub for Card Captors, the one that is around nowadays, not the one I grew up with, the second dub, there's like a newer dub, like an Aniplex dub. The Aniplex dub for Card Captors fucking sucks. Oh, it's so bad. I mean, I still watch the show because the show's great, but like... And I kind of I got around it, but I don't know if Thomas would be into magical girls, though I could probably force him to be. Not that way. It's satire. I could probably get him into the genre, but I think he has like very... I mean, he's 6, so I think he has very strange lines of what he considers something that he'd watch and what he doesn't watch currently. Hopefully I could bend that as time goes by, but I like Card Captor Sakura growing up, so I don't see why he wouldn't. But again, I have to get him into the situation where he'd want to watch it. But if I was sat down watching it, maybe that would be a good place to start. That's a pretty wholesome show, and I always enjoy watching Sakura, so we'll see. I mean, I don't want it to be merchandisable. Yeah, I don't want it to be too merchandisable, just because, well, I think Pokemon's the exception. Well, Pokemon is kind of what I'm talking about, because Pokemon is like extremely like you can throw a lot of money into it. Like most other anime, especially like where I'm from, like you're not going to see a huge amount of merchandise that he's going to be able to get. But if there is merchandise, I want it to be easier. I want it to be at least reasonably priced. Yeah, I mean Digimon Tamers is like a great show, but it might be a bit too dark and it gets a bit sad in places. I wouldn't be against showing him the old Digimon. I used to have it on VHS. I used to like have a bunch of episodes of Digimon taped. If I could get if I could find the series somewhere, like the original series, I could probably I could be down to watch it with him. But I'd have to find the series. If I could buy it, if I could buy a DVD or something like that, I think that might be the easiest way to do it. Because I don't know where else I'd be able to see it with him unless it's on a streaming service that he has. Yeah, if he likes that, I remember you are Yamaso. Yeah, that film wasn't dubbed though, as far as I understand, because I wanted to show it to him, but I couldn't find a dub. The Card Capturer's dub doesn't have the cool intro. Yeah, the original intro is really like pretty epic. I'm gonna go to the toilet, fellas. I'm gonna go to the toilet, everyone. I'll be back in a second because I'm getting a bit shaky. Jesus Christ. Beautiful. I'm back. Okay. Let's see what's going on here. Hello, John. Hello, Human Falafel. Those early censored dubs were pretty bad, like Sailor Moon one. Suffered from the same. Yeah, there's like a lot of episodes cut out and such. I think Digimon was less like that. Though if I was to get like the DVD, if there is a DVD, and there must be, right? Like the complete season 1 of Digimon or something dumb like that. I imagine they would be uncut. And I mean, Digimon didn't have anything too glaring in it, so. But the series, I mean, there is like friendships that burn and other like tension in the episodes, but I don't think it's too bad in Digimon. So maybe that could be an idea. Let's see. Cyborg 009 is a kid-friendly show. I think it has a dub. Kimono no Omocha is also nice, but I don't know if it would fit. Let me have a look it up. Thanks, Hazel. I appreciate. Yeah, there is a dub for this, isn't there? Yeah, I mean, I'll have to think about it. I think there's a lot of good choices here. I mean, Digimon could be a pretty good one if I could think of that. If I could get him into card captures, that would be pretty cool. Don't know if it's his kind of show yet, but I think I could push him in that direction. He really does like superheroes, so I think that as he grows up, My Hero Academia is probably going to be something that he's into, if I like it or not. It's fine. I'm sure it's fine. It's just I'd want to get into something that I'd want to watch, not something that he'll just watch anyway. Yeah, I think there's a good list of ideas there. Oh, Metabots was fucking hype. Shit, did they actually dub all of Metabots? I'd be down to watch Metabots again. Metabots had like mad talent behind it. I used to watch Metabots. Maybe I'll think about that one. Oh, Ultima. Oh, yeah, Doremi. Doremi has a dub. I reckon I could probably magical girl pill my 6-year-old nephew at some point. At some point, I could probably magical girl pill him. That's a weird way of saying it, but I could probably get him into magical girls at some point in the future. But it may take a little while because I think he'll probably have some. I think he has preconception notions as a 6-year-old about what he'd watch and what he won't watch. He likes, superhero shows like Spider-Man. He likes that sort of thing right now. So it's a different kind of vibe. But I could probably convince him, especially if I watch it. So if I watch it, it's instantly, that's instantly something he'd be more interested in. Oh, the Yu-Gi-Oh, fucking Yu-Gi-Oh. Oh, I don't know if I could. I don't think I've got it in me to watch Yu-Gi-Oh again. Especially like the old 4Kids stuff. I don't think I can do it. It's just so long. And also, again, too many. I don't want to get too hard into card games already. Those things are expensive. Yeah, I mean they don't really care that much about the dubs, but if I have to watch it with him, then I have to like be assaulted by them. But Metabots would be cool. I don't know if they ever redubbed Metabots because there was one when I was a kid. I don't know if they made like a newer one. I don't know how good the dub fares nowadays, but I'll have to look into Metabots. I don't know if it's actually available anywhere though. Is Metabots actually available? Would Samurai Jack scare him? I mean, I watched Samurai Jack when I was quite young. I mean, I'd be down to watch more Samurai Jack. I just don't know if it's his vibe or not. I could give it a go. I'd never actually tried getting him into Samurai Jack. Maybe Samurai Jack would be cool. Not quite an anime, but Yeah, Metabots is cool. I like Metabots quite a bit as like an idea. I just have to be able to find it somewhere to watch. I don't have a favorite anime studio. I don't like to play favorites that way. There are definitely. I mean, there are eras of ones that I think are interesting. Like, I mean, I talked about Madhouse in the '80s for a reason because I think they were a really unique studio at that point. But there are plenty of great studios. I don't think you have to pick your favorite or anything like that. I just don't really think about things in that way. I don't really think about things in terms of this is my absolute favorite. It's not really how I do things, really. He's actually watched the Spectacular Spider-Man series already because I showed it to him. I downloaded it all for him. So he's already seen Spectacular Spider-Man. Tokusatsu would be really cool to show him if I could find any that I think would be kid appropriate. Well, I mean, I think most of it is for kids, but like it's finding something that's in English that I can easily get him, that I could watch with him in that context. I mean, like I said, he used to watch Godzilla, but I think I may have burnt the bridge on that one a little bit. But no, he's seen all the Spectacular Spider-Man. I mean, Street Sharks and Bike of Mars are not anime, so I'm not really. And I didn't watch either of those growing up, so I'm probably not the person there. Before anime exploded in here, we had Tokusatsu, which was a fever dream for kids. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. I'd have to find something that I think would really work. There probably must be something, but it's just a case of finding it in English. And available. Easily available. Those are the two factors. I never watched Samurai Pizza Cats growing up, so I don't know if it... I don't know. I could probably show him Avatar, to be fair. I actually own Avatar. Like, I own the whole series, so it would be very easy for me to show him Avatar, though I probably will wait until he's a little bit older, just because I think he'd appreciate it more at the age of, like, 7 or 8 than he would now. Yeah, I'd definitely show him Ponyo. I think Ponyo would be a bop to watch. Yeah, I mean, I want to try and avoid, because he's so one-track mind, I want to try and avoid something that will cost a lot of money at first, I guess. I mean, at some point you're going to have to avoid it. there's no way of avoiding it, right? But considering his parents, I know his house. They have a PS4. Like, I don't want to get him on something like Pokemon, and then it's like, oh, I'd like a Nintendo Switch so I can play Pokemon. That's like, oh, I've accidentally made them, have to spend £300+ on a new system and a new game because that's all he ever talks about. Eventually, at some point, they will then have to like eventually do that. Considering they just have this one console as it is, I don't want to get them into that sort of spiral, or even like buying him an older console, finding him an old console, and then all these other games, and then all these other trading cards. It's a whole thing. Like I will try and avoid that just because I know how dedicated he gets to these sort of ideas. Yeah, I don't even think Yokai Watch is that big over here. I don't know if I'd even be able to find it for him. I do not buy the idea that Mecha is dead. Mecha never died. Saying Mecha is dead is like saying the Western is dead. I mean, they have their eras, right? You can tell where the popular eras for those shows are, where they have become quite a important cultural standpoint within the era. But there is, I don't think genres die necessarily. They just sort of they kind of trend in and out. Like people are still making plenty of mecha. I mean, I'm pretty sure Shabes' stream the other week where he went through all those new mecha shows. I'm pretty sure he found like the percentage of new mechas being made in the 2010s is still pretty decent and equivalent to some of the older generations. It's just there's more anime coming out now, and a lot of those mecha shows just aren't as popular as they once were in the broader scheme. But there are certainly ones that still are. I mean, Gundam's never made more money. Gundam's about to go live action. It's never made more money. It continues to make a series every year. Macross is still going, although copyright nightmare everywhere else in the world, right? But yeah, Macross is still having its time. Ava is more popular than ever. Just about to release its fourth film, which may also break some box office records. Who knows? I think they're doing just fine. I love this as a stream of just about impromptu babysitting conversation. I mean, yeah, this is what I ended up talking about, right? This is where I went with my world. But yeah, I think watching Ponyo would be great. Yeah, it depends. I haven't. He'll probably be over again soon, but he keeps asking me to go draw with him. But because I've been injured in the arm, the hand, I haven't actually been able to draw with him for a while. So next time I see him, we'll probably do some drawing. I think my hand's alright now. Well, I wouldn't say it's perfect, but I think I could do a bit of drawing. I've got a brace here, so I can wear that when I need to. So yeah, I think we'll be alright. I think we'll be doing just fine on that occasion. I would actually like get to watch Power Rangers with him, but again, it's a pretty big commitment into that sort of world. I'm sure he'll be able to find Power Rangers on his own, and if he does, then we could watch some of the older shows. I'll be down for like watching like Power Rangers in space or something. In space, yeah, I could go for space. Maybe RPM, Mighty Morphin. Mighty Morphin would be pretty nostalgic. I could watch that again. I mean, he'd be into it, I reckon. We'll see. Sore, Iki, Anpan Man. Yeah, I know Anpan Man. I don't know if Anpan Man's ever been dubbed. Has Anpan Man ever been dubbed? Because I know in Japan it's so big that like children know Anpan Man's name before they know other like items of stuff in real life in Japan. But this is like a complicated issue here because I think Anpan Man may be a little bit younger than his demographic now, but it depends if it's being dubbed or not. I remember hearing it might be getting releases in English, but I don't know if it has like a full one. I just think Mecha's dead agenda is being pushed by people who don't know any better. I mean, this is starting to sound a bit like an Alex Jones bit, right? What would he say? He'd be like, the anti-Mecha globalists are trying to destroy Mecha by telling everyone it's dead. They have a conspiracy to destroy robots. I mean, there's a giant robot in Japan right now, right? There's a giant mecha, giant literal Gundam in Japan that's walking about, like, partially. I think Mecha's doing just fine. But, I don't know. I think in one context they are kind of correct in that, like, the cultural paradigm, which was once mecha, which was once one of the more popular genres in the field of in the nerd sphere at least, is not quite as popular as it once was. That is true. It certainly is not in the same cultural force position as it once was. That doesn't mean it's not still popular, if not more popular than ever. It's just that I think perhaps one way of looking at it would be that mecha has kept at a relatively same kind of pace. Maybe had its spikes, right? But the rest of anime has just went like that. So mecha has kind of stayed on the same trajectory. Maybe in some of them, like Gundam, have also risen, but like other anime have just went up so high and become so like culturally relevant worldwide that, you know, only a couple will break through on the mecha side. I mean, I started watching Power Rangers when I was 6. It's just like that's a completely different thing. Like, I was thinking more about anime, but like, if Tommy wants to watch Power Rangers, I'll let my sister would be the person to decide that because she has the power to do that. That is in itself, that's a whole different can of worms. I have actually shown him some Power Rangers once, and I think he recorded. I think his terminology was, "Yes, that looks very cool." That's what he said to me. He was like, "Very cool, very cool." So yeah, on the table if I wanted it to be, but I'll let my sister decide that because it is again another big investment and full of toys and merchandise and many different series. So yeah, I don't know if I'm that dedicated for that one yet. I mean, I'll let him find that on his own because Power Rangers is huge, right? When I was growing up, it was gigantic. I don't think it's as big nowadays, but it's easy for him to find it and watch it, and they're still making more shows. So I'll let my sister figure that one out. What's the story of Macross license in the West? It's very complicated. In fact, I was actually thinking about doing a video on it once. Apparently, like, yeah, different people own different parts of of it, which has created a whole mess. I think Funimation has a deal with Harmony Gold now, but Harmony Gold like owns Macross until like 2050, something dumb like that. But then there are other companies who own certain pieces of it, different international rights and such. So like it's just a giant mess. So like the only Macross you're gonna find around, I think you can find the original series in the wild about. I've seen it. It's called Robotech though still, even though it's unedited. Macross Plus was also released here in England. I have a copy of it. It's kind of old and crusty, not Blu-ray, but I think after that, it's just a no-go, unfortunately. But yeah, it's a really messy, complicated situation with Harmony Gold and other companies and like the rights of stuff. Yeah, yeah. So Macross is kind of stuck in limbo for quite a while. Yes, the cute Aeon mecha agenda is going to conquer the world. God Almighty. You know, it'd be funny if it wasn't, if you know, it wasn't so serious in some places. Yeah, there's an agenda against mecha anime, guys. You know, giant robots. The government wants you to stop thinking about giant robots, so we can't all just own giant robots. Because truly, the only way to take down a government that's went too far is for you to own your own giant robot. A gun is not enough. You need to own a giant robot if you want to take down a government. That's just facts. You can't have a revolution without giant mechas. Let's have a look. Where we at? Fun fact: the Seiyu, yes, Seiyu of Ant-Man was a Japanese voice actor for Thomas the Tank. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Of course, it would be Thomas the Tank Engine. But the media in the West were reporting that Giant Gundam was a transformer. I mean, you can't really help Western media people being like dumb and just like confusing giant robots and such. I mean, there's not really much you can do about that. You know, parents called a PlayStation Xbox. You know, it's just how it be. If you're uninformed, you're uninformed. They don't really give a shit what it is. It's a giant robot. Doesn't matter what series it's from. I think most of them probably could report, you know, pretty easily that it's a Gundam. I don't think it's too hard. You know, if you make an article on the BBC about a giant Gundam, you just go, "Yep, it's a giant Gundam," and then you link to it. I mean, live broadcasts. Yeah, maybe some of them get that wrong. I don't know. Robotics.no. I have not seen it, but apparently it's good, I guess. I wouldn't say Mecha is alright. So this is Nate saying that Mecha is not dead. A better word would be irrelevant, at least to the mainstream sense. Maybe. I mean, I think the depends how we define genres, right? I think genres are just that. Like, I don't want to put too much weight on what could be what's a popular genre right now. Yeah, I guess some would say like isekai is a popular genre, or battle manga. I guess yeah, shonen battle manga is still very popular. But these things have their ebbs and flows. They have their waves, and they're not. Would mecha become popular again? It's entirely possible that mecha could have a second wave of relevance. I mean, say for example, if hypothetically, if the Gundam live action film did incredibly well. Again, this is in a world post-COVID, I guess. In a post-COVID world, if a Gundam film in Japan and America, a live-action American Gundam film, does unbelievably well, makes $1 billion, I believe that the Japanese industry will retort to that and be like, oh, maybe mecha is popular. At least Gundam will at least retort to that. And perhaps we will see an influx of different kind of mecha shows and films and things that relate to that. That is entirely possible to happen. It could be a small burst. It could be a small, tiny little uptick, but this could happen. Ping pong. I'm not going to show my nephew ping pong, but I don't know if we were still talking about that or not. I don't really care. I don't really care about the film Big Hero 6. I'm not going to show my nephew Disney films. He's already seen them all. Yeah, I mean, Robotech's the name, right? Like, I think if you buy Robotech on like DVD or whatever, it's just Macross. Would you be okay showing your child well, not my child, but my nephew, right? My nephew something like Gatchaman or the Star Blazers. Um, it's not necessarily if I would be okay showing it to him. I think it's more just a case of like, would he actually watch it? I don't know if it's impossible to make him watch something like Star Blazers, but I would have to be showing him a very ancient dub with questionable sound quality and questionable video quality, which I don't think he'd really mind too much, but he'd have to be invested in it. And Star Blazers is a pretty decent like transformation for its time, though it's not exactly the most accurate version. Though I think it's generally more accurate than a lot of dubs from back then. Um, I generally just don't know if he'd be interested in watching it, if I'm honest. That to me is the issue there. I think I generally have a better chance of getting him to watch Gundam than I would Star Blazers. The original Gundam, that is. But that would be another conversation. I'd probably wait until he's a bit older. I have not seen Violent Evergarden. We're getting plenty of great mecha games. Yeah, I mean, mechas as a concept haven't exactly gone away. Yeah, there's like the new not Armored Core coming out, isn't there? Oh, you like the thank you, Mikey. What, you like the haircut? Yeah, I mean, my hair was getting too long. This is the blunt of it, guys. I'm afraid. Yeah, my hair was just getting too long, so I just shaved the sides and the back completely off. I couldn't find the trimmer, like the smaller trimmer on the razor, so I just had to do it raw because the ones I had was just the ones that I did have were like really long, and it would just took too long to like cut very little hair. So I decided just to shave it all off and just let the cards go where they go. I probably need to take more off this though. I think I need to actually start trimming into this because it's getting a little bit like too thick. I think it needs to be cut. Well, what do they call it? Like, it needs to be sort of thinned out at the back. The front's probably okay, but it does need to be thinned out at the back a bit probably. But that's a job for a different day. I'll worry about that later. Yeah, I did see the giant Gundam they built in Japan. I was talking about it a second ago. Yeah, it can like walk and such. There's actually two, isn't there? Because there's the one which is just like a model that you can see, and then there's the one that can actually move around now. Yeah, you would be asking Sony, but Sony may also own Crunchyroll soon, so they may own everything. Gundam had a cult following in the West, mostly Universal Century Timeline. Yeah, I mean Gundam. From what I remember being younger, the only Gundam I remember like being on like mainstream television is probably Gundam Wing, and I didn't watch it back then. I do believe there is a Cartoon Network dub for Gundam the original series because I've been watching it, and I think it's pretty good. I think it's a pretty good dub for what it is. I enjoy it. Yeah, maybe one day I could get him into that. It's a bit melodramatic. Everyone dies. It's probably a little bit harsh for his soft soul right now. But in the future, who knows? Am I optimistic? Well, the way I'm looking at it, right, is that the Gundam film doesn't necessarily need to be good. It just needs to be popular. Will it be good? I don't know. Honestly, I wouldn't be able to tell you if it will be good or not. That's a complicated question. Sunrise seems to give the impression that they're working with Legendary, and that they're working with them in a very collab position. They have like a very tight creative control about what they want the Gundam live action film to be, and they probably have they probably have their limits. They probably have their like exceptions about what you should and shouldn't do. They probably want something that really reflects the brand, in the same way that they may see what they've done with like the Godzilla of late, and perhaps see like we want something like that, but for Gundam. And if that's the case, we might get something interesting. I don't know. It's possible. I mean, it would be pretty cool to like get the original like Gundam theme or one of the Gundam style themes in like a more orchestrated American style. I think that could be fun. And seeing the classic like Gundams appear in the show so they can fight like a big old battle with Shah versus Amuro, whatever they end up calling him in the actual thing. I mean, maybe they'll give him an American name, but his second name will be Amuro or something. Yeah, seeing Amuro versus Shah, but with like giant, really expensive CGI, classic versions of these mechas fighting out in space, in like a crazy CGI duel. That could be pretty interesting if it's done right. I think it would be fun. It doesn't need to be great per se, but if it captures enough intrigue in people, that could lead to like a live action show, which I think would fit the market better. And I think that Gundam as like a series has the potential in a live action capacity to be quite like mainstream and popular. Like it's not particularly that different than other shows that are popular at the time. I mean, if you throw the politics, the war, the intrigue, the drama, the relationships into it, I don't see why that couldn't work. It just happens to have giant robots in it. Those are usually the problem. Is getting past the giant robot thing, because again that's expensive to show, and it can be very particularly niche. So those are factors that they have to work with. I'm glad everyone's enjoying my hair. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate the comments. Yeah, I feel much better with my hair like this now. I can actually breathe a bit more. Serial. Oh, I do tend to get people talk about Serial Experiment Lane a fair bit. I actually do own the series, but I have not watched it. Maybe one day if I watch the series. Alright, my throat's starting to hurt now. Ah, god damn it. I should have warmed up a bit more before I started. Um, if I watch Lane and I want to talk about it, I'll talk about it. That's all I can say. Michael Bay's Gundam. Oh god, no, please. I'm sure they wouldn't give it to someone like that. I imagine they'll realistically Legendary will give it to like some indie darling director. This is generally what happens, right? Some indie darling director will be given the film Gundam, so the studio has enough power to influence his decision making, and he won't do anything too extreme. Either that, or will be someone who has a slight bit more prospect in the industry, someone who went from indie darling but has created a couple blockbusters of late, and then they'll make the film. Or maybe if we're going really wild, Legendary will pick up like a pretty storied like director who has a probably isn't like as predominant now, but has a history of making films that would be equivalent. Perhaps they have a history of making war films or something along those lines. I mean, thinking about that, all I have in my head now is like Terrence Malick's The Gundam. No, they'd never do that. I'm wondering who they would even hire. Actually, I think it will have to be a no-name. If I'm honest, I don't think they'll get anyone who's like too predominant. Well, even if they're gonna get James Cameron, Jane Cameron's The Gundam, no. No, he wouldn't. He's too busy making 17 Avatar films. Although Robert Rodriguez, considering he made the Battle Elite or whatever, um, I don't know if that would be off the cards for him. I've read a bit of the origin manga, but I know the manga does change things. But there are like points that are quite similar, and there are bits in the origin that are quite different. Um, but that's a topic for another day, I'm sure. They're quite different in intent because obviously Tomino isn't making that manga; it's someone else who worked on the show. So stylistically, the direction is a little bit different than what Tomino first did in 1979. Okay, ideally a live action Neil Blomkamp would be interesting. Maybe. Maybe he'd be. I would be afraid he'd kind of turn it into more of a Americanized, gritty sort of thing. But I think he in his films at least attempt to try and do those sort of social commentary things. And Gundam isn't necessarily strictly about that. There are definitely factors of that in there. That, like I think the political aspect of it and the idea of the robot Gundam mecha imperialism is very much alive and well in the series. Um, he wouldn't be a bad choice though. I just don't want him to go too far on the grim, dark, serious tone. I think some of the appeal of Gundam is perhaps that it has a very strange tone in between the horrors of war and like the silliness of like the life of these people. But there, it's a kind of middle line between a lot of them. I think the balance is usually pretty unique. It's not exactly always grim dark, depending on the series. I mean, to be honest, chat. To be very blunt, I don't want to see a Christopher Nolan Gundam film. That's definitely not something I want to see. Although a Del Toro Gundam film would be fucking pog. I'd watch the shit out of that. Yeah, Del Toro for Gundam straight up. I know he's a big Devilman fan as well, so like yeah, absolutely, 100% Del Toro is the right choice. Yeah, you do need someone who can take the war aspect serious. You also have to consider about like the limits of what a 2 hour film can do, because obviously Gundam is a 50 episode series usually. Like, what are you trying to accomplish in an hour, like 2 hour film? I mean, the ideal situation for them would probably be to make a trilogy, right? So if we're talking about a trilogy, then there's also a trilogy that already exists. But what are you trying to achieve in that trilogy with the Gundam films? That is really the question that needs to be asked. Are they going to be retreading the original series? Are they going to completely do their own thing, but use the original series as like a map? Are they going to be using the same characters? Are they going to use new characters? Gundam has a habit of like, each series can have different characters and different worlds and different things going on. So how far, how close, how far are we staying from the source material? Is this a repeat of the source material? Is this just like Gundam as a concept, using that source material as a stepping stone? There's a lot that could be happening. Kohima, you think? Kojima. Kojima could direct a Gundam film. Uh, uh, Listen, Kojima is a lot of things, but perhaps a movie director is not one of them. I honestly believe that Kojima is probably best kept within the genre that he is most well known for, video games. I don't necessarily know if I really want to see a Kojima original movie, especially about Gundam. Although I know he is a fan, that he for sure is a fan. He definitely is a fan, but I don't know if I really want to see that. It would be weird though. It probably would be weird. Probably be weird in unique ways. Though I imagine they want to give it to an American director, not a Japanese game director. Yeah, but the reason why Kojima's games work ultimately are not because of the cinematic qualities in them. They tend to be the mixture between the gameplay and the quality, like the kind of stories he tells, and I mean there's sort of questionable elements too, and a certain weirdness in his game building. Such, I generally think that if Kojima was going to make a live action movie about Gundam or mechas, he probably should just make a film about the series that he made, which is just Gundam. What's it called? I've lost the name completely now. He made like 2 mecha games in the early 2000s. What's that called? Um, no, not Armored Core. Kojima made 2. What are they called? I'll have to look it up. Kojima Mecha. What's it called? No, Mecha. Son of the Enders. Yeah, there you go. Son of the Enders. I mean, he was working on a Silent Hill game, not a movie. Where are we at? Yeah, the thing is, like, Kojima very much likes movies, and I think that affects the way he makes games. But I generally don't know if he'd be a very good film director, just because I think the medium of video games, I think does suit his sort of weirdness a lot more. I think if you were to only watch the cutscenes or something like, what's that new video? What's that new video game he made? Death Stranding. If you were to only watch the cutscenes from Death Stranding in like a movie format, I'm pretty sure if you gave that to general audiences, they'd probably be disgusted and probably be like, "This is fucking shit. I don't want to ever see a Kojima made movie ever again." I mean, it's weird. I mean, it's not like they have to be liked by general audiences, but I don't think that his games stand up necessarily by themselves on the strength of their narratives alone. Even though I do quite like some of his narratives quite a bit, I think that it's his games are more as he said himself, they're like more like exhibitions of different mediums and ideas than they are like strictly one thing. Kojima's thing is more Ultraman than Gundam. I would highly doubt that after making Son of the Enders, which is literally just a rip off of Gundam. At the beginning, at least. Son of the Enders 1 is literally just Gundam. Like, it kind of throws away some of the stuff, but like the kid accidentally finding a mech, all that. I mean, that's a trope for most series now, but Gundam started it. I'm pretty sure he would have grown up in the generation of otaku that were watching Gundam, but he probably could have saw Ultraman too. Ultraman. I mean, he's definitely seen Mazinger Z because he's all about the rocket punch, so he must like Mazinger Z at least. Suda51. I mean, I prefer he just keep making games than I'd make a movie, but I know he does have some very particular films that he likes, like El Topo and where's the number one? Oh yeah. Oh, my throat's going a bit. Alright, I'm getting a bit tired. Yeah, I mean, there's not. I mean, I like Kojima games. I like most of them quite a bit. I would be considered quite a big fan of Kojima's work. I just think that when you let him sort of just go off on like movie stuff, it does feel a bit questionable. So I don't know if I'd. To be fair, I'd probably still watch a Kojima movie, but more for the curiosity of like how different is it to his normal like games. Does it just feel like one of his video games without the game, or does it actually feel like a full movie? That would be the question. Because Kojima is kind of more used to making products that have 8 to 20 to 60 hour long like stories basically, and that's very different than having 2 hours. Yeah, I've seen the cutscenes from Twin Snakes, though Kojima didn't direct those. It was a completely different person who directed those cutscenes in particular. Those cutscenes were given to a very specific artist, and I think Kojima gave him like free reign to do what he wanted with them. I believe they were like one of the people that worked on Devil May Cry. But yeah, the style there is very different. Like I think intentionally so. And I'm not really a fan of the dub in Twin Snakes because they try to change the localization to fit more close to what Kojima was trying to do in Japanese, because he didn't like Jeremy Blaustein's attempt to localize what he was doing. I mean, I'm a big fan of Jeremy's work, so I'm obviously on the side of, no, you fool, let Jeremy localize your writing. It works better. Don't try and take your text from one language to the other and expect it to work one-on-one. I mean, I think some people like the weirdness that comes with that. Like, a lot of his scripts in later games are very strictly set to the Kojima lingo, which leads to its own kind of strange memery. But I generally think that the games would work better if they were actually allowed to be localized somewhat. Yeah, like it's a very different vibe. Twin Snakes. I think Twin Snakes as a whole is kind of a failure of a project. Play the original, baby. But yeah, even the original has kind of some Matrix shit in it. Right, where are we at? What time is it? What's going on? How long have we been going? Where are we at? I can't even tell. 96 minutes, huh? Oh, Jesus Christ. Alright, boys and girls and everyone else in between. I think I'm going to give it another 5 minutes and then I'm going to premiere the new video, because I need to get on with some real work. I don't know any video game director who made a film yet, for good reason. Because if you make something in one medium, that does not give you carte blanche to be good at making something in another medium. Generally, these things do not like transfer that well. Sometimes they can, but overwhelmingly so. You end up with things like Stephen King trying to make his own TV series, and you know, it being shit. I'm trying to think of any particular director who could have went into filmmaking or has planned to. I mean, David Cage has pretty much just spent his whole career trying to just make interactive films, and we know how well that went. If David Cage made a real film, I think it would be panned like nothing else. Because even as video games, they don't hold up very well. Yeah, 90 pages long draft. Jesus Christ. Absolute madman. Yeah, but generally if you work in one medium, it is quite hard to transfer into another one. You basically are starting from ground zero again. So, you know, if you're like... I'm trying to think of a different director. Say, for example, you're like the director of like Rockstar, right? Or like one of the directors that made Red Dead Redemption 2 or whatever. You're the director behind that. And then you're like, okay, I'm leaving Rockstar and I'm going to make my own cowboy film, and it's going to say on the thing, you know, from the maker of Red Dead Redemption 2, and maybe let's say hypothetically this is actually related to the Red Dead universe. So he's left to be from a game director to Rockstar's starting a movie theater, like a movie company or whatever. So he's going to make Red Dead Redemption the movie, and he directed the game, so he can direct the film. I don't think that means anything, and it will probably end up being terrible because it's a completely different medium, completely different job to do. I don't think that would work at all. Well, Makoto Shinkai effectively just made animated cutscenes. Like, he made anime cutscenes for like some early video games back in the day. So I mean, it's not necessarily like he was making video games. He was making cutscenes for them, which is a different way of beginning your career. But he was making 2D with some 3D parts in them, cutscenes, like, you know how they used to do back in the day. So I mean, I don't think he was still animation kind of major guy, like he was still focused within the animation medium. But well, it would be hard to say that his early career doing that did not affect his career later on. Right. Let's say 2 minutes and I'm out, and then I'm premiering the new video because my throat really hurts. So, in summary, I guess I have to get my nephew into anime, maybe Digimon, maybe Magical Girl stuff. Maybe he'll watch Ponyo. That's what I've got out of that conversation. Mecha is not dead. It just went to Vegas, and we're gonna be talking about Legend of Hay. Legend of Hay, Chinese animation. Chinese animation can be cool, guys. Legend of Hay is a good TV show. I mean, a good web series. It's a good movie. Watch my video on it, and then check out the series. You can watch it all on YouTube. Yeah, my hand is feeling a lot better. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I do have my brace, and I've been doing my stretches still, and I think there's been a lot of healing done, I think. The issue I'm worried about now is if I dedicate quite a bit of time to drawing, I'm hoping I don't wake up and be like, oh fuck, I've done all the damage again. So I feel I have to be a little bit more cautious when drawing, take a couple more breaks, do a couple more stretches. Because, I end up sometimes drawing all day if a project needs to get done. So I have to be a bit more cautious about how long I can draw at one time. But yeah, I'm doing everything I can to recover on that part, but oh god, my throat really hurts. I'm going to be in chat. I'm probably going to premiere the new video, so I'll be in chat, hanging out, and I'll hopefully sort that out in a minute or two. And so this is going to be my final goodbye to everyone. Peace out, everyone, and keep on rocking in the free world. And I'm going to throw some emojis in the chat. Oh, what's going on there? Wait, is my thing bugging out? No, it's not bugging out. Sorry, my other thing was bugging out. Yeah, so I'm going to go off now, and I'm going to premiere the new video. So thank you for coming. Have a good one. It will say in the video, I think it's called Lao Xiaohei, the Legend of Lao Xiaohei. There you go, Hazel knows. Thanks, Hazel. Very much appreciate. Anyway, I'll catch you all in the premiere in a second. Wait, is it Luau or Lao? I forget how I say it. Luau or Lao? Doesn't matter. Anyway, thank you, Hazel. It's Lao Xiaohei. Watch the series. It's nice and comfy. Watch the movie too. I'll catch you all in the video in a second. Peace.